ribs. I think he caught the flu after that. Wasn't 100%. I think of the 4 Rahal Ducati riders, he was probably 4th fastest among DeMario and his teammates.
He struggled,
but boy, did he put it together when it was on the line. And some things went his way, but he dodged a couple of bullets. That first pit stop was slow. Took them a while to get the motorcycle refired, and then that incident where he clipped one of the cameramen and got way back, charged back up, and then unfortunately for P.J. Jacobsen, he may have been the fastest of the riders for much of that race, and unfortunately for P.J., his Daytona 200, when it looked as though he was setting up for a win, and then all of a sudden there was Josh Herrin to pick up the pieces and ran it home here by a big margin of victory. But although we didn't have that multi-rider battle to the checkered flag, great ride for Tyler Scott in second. That race for third was as good as you will ever see. Kayla Yakov coming home here, the first woman to finish on a podium in the Daytona 200. And I was really impressed. She's taken her riding to a whole new level, and I don't think we've seen the best. She is certainly one of a number of championship hopefuls in the super sport class this year.
We always talk about the fact that this race is a team event here because of the pit stops and everything else. I think that Rahal not only put it to the test in regards to all of the pit stops and the strategies that they had, but it was very specific. The pit stops with PJ and Josh Herrin, they came in together, they pitted together, they went back out together, they were drafting together, and it was a shame that they didn't get a chance to finish together or race to the checkered flag, as you had mentioned, because PJ had an incident there. But man, they truly were working. I watched one of the pit stops where they both came into the pits, and Herrin left his pit stall, PJ left his pit stall, and Herrin turned around and saw that PJ left on time and was going to be able to hook up with him leaving, and he pumped his fist. He was like, yeah, they did it. There was a clear strategy there that they wanted to leave pit road together and work together to continue to build the buffer between themselves and Scott and Escalante and everybody else behind them. And as you mentioned, that last lap with Kayla Yakov and Darren Binder, wow, that's just what the Daytona 200 is all about. A draft to the finish line, because Binder crossed the finish line first on the previous lap. They went back and forth, and Kayla had an outstanding final lap and put herself in a perfect position, high on the bank. You could see she was using the bank to her advantage. She drafted down at just the right spot. She had practiced it. They had talked about it. And then on the podium, she expressed how thankful she was to P.J. Jacobsen, who helped her train in the off season. She said, I couldn't have done it without him. She said that she wouldn't be this good without him. And so not only are the riders looking out for each other, the 4 individual teams within the Rahal Moto crew are looking out for each other. They're all working together. They all had a great strategy. I have to imagine that's part of Graham Rahal's influence. I have to imagine that's part of Ben Spee's influence, who's also managing that race team, and all of the crew chiefs and everybody working together. What a team effort here at Daytona, the World Center of Racing. This is where you pull off something extraordinary like that, and it's so great to see them. It would have been interesting to see 3 Rahal Ducatis there, and I've been rooting for Ty Scott because he's been so close, the youngster with the M4 X-Star Suzuki team with the D3O livery this weekend. He's been so close, and Richie Escalante so close, and Escalante had that crash, and Tyler Scott just too far out to be able to use the draft or to be able to challenge there at the end. There's so many storylines coming into this event. There's almost just as many storylines leaving this event. Yeah, and there's always a double hook, Kenny, with the Daytona 200. You've got Herrin celebrating his 5th Daytona 200 victory, joining Scott Russell and Miguel Duhamel. He is still young. Who knows where the record could go? For a long time we thought Russell and Duhamel, I'm not sure if anybody can eclipse 5, but we had Danny Eslick, of course, with 4, and more recently with 4 in a row. We've got 3 riders with 5 victories, and next year I'm sure that
he will be here trying to become the all-time Daytona 200 champion. But while those riders, Kayla Yakov with a great ride, Tyler Scott, we had the other side where riders had all kinds of problems, not just today, but going back earlier in the week. Boy, it was a tough 3 days for the two Triumph riders out of Britain. Hickman, he ended up finishing well outside of the top 30.
He was there for a bit, though. He was there for a bit.
He was up into the top 20 for a while, and then I think they had some problems late. He put his motorcycle on the ground 2 or 3 times, and a bit of an update that we got on Davey Todd. They had the original operation over here at the hospital. Apparently there was a second operation that I think took place today, and he's probably going to be here for another 5 to 7 days before he flies back for England. And not only the disappointment here at Daytona, but he had all of his Isle of Man TT rides lined up, some big paydays for him for starting. Now, hopefully he can mend very, very quickly, and he will be back out. And then for the second half of the M4 Mission Racing Suzuki, X-Star Suzuki team, that was a horrific crash in the dogleg going through the infield at well over 115, 20 miles per hour.
Oh, yeah.
Richie Escalante, that motorcycle going end over end.
Probably closer to 140.
And again, Escalante had the pace. He was up there with P.J. Jacobson.
He was third. He led for a moment.
He did lead that race back and forth.
Yeah.
The
Suzuki's. As did Ty Scott.
Yeah, and the Suzukis appear to have a little better fuel mileage than the Ducatis because the Ducatis pitted earlier, and you know it would have been interesting to see if Escalante could have hung in there, whether he would have been a factor. But so many stories coming out of the Daytona 200 and this opening weekend of MotoAmerica. And, of course, from here, looking forward to the next stop at Road Atlanta. And I would think that most of these championships are going to go right down to the final round in the series.
Well, as they always do, right? This past season, there were 3 riders from 3 different manufacturers. It took all the way up to the Triple Crown race in New Jersey to settle the score, and the championship eventually going to Cameron Bobier and the BMW team. But how do we wrap up this weekend? We had baggers on both sides. The Indians looked really fast here down with Hayden Gillum with a runaway win yesterday, Herfoss a runaway win today. Gillum also won the $5,000 dash for cash. The Harley-Davidsons are there. They're clearly fast, and they've won the championships in the past. But this year, those Vance and Hines Indians look like they've got another gear.
We did, but Harley got a little bit of revenge on a lot of manufacturers in the 2 Mission Super Hooligan races. Boy, that was some of the best racing. Unbelievable that Saddlemen, Harley-Davidson riders 1, 2, 3 yesterday, and they were able to pull it off today when it looked like there could be a couple of Yamahas in there. DeBrino was very quick. He led early. Robertino Pietri was right there, but boy, did they time their draft perfectly on that last lap. And
2 Saddlemen sweeps. It's just it's kind of fun to say, but yeah, Jake Lewis took the win today. Corey West, James Rispoli. I talked to Rispoli on pit road earlier in the week, and I said, what do you think about defending that #1 plate? He says, I'm not defending anything. I'm attacking it. So, he's not trying to defend that plate. He's not trying to be conservative. He's going after it. He's going to be aggressive. He wants that #1 plate. Harley Davidson wants the #1 plate. And, and he's proven it. He's right there. 2 podiums already this weekend.
Yeah, and the way they finished, I think those 3 riders can only be separated by a handful of points going to the next round. But that Super Hooligan class had a great entry here this weekend.
It's massive.
The Arch Machines, I believe Jeremy McWilliams came home in 11th. That was a pretty good finish for him unofficially. I think he was 11th. I
think Corey had issues in both races.
And he ended up not finishing. And the other effort that I think there was a lot of interest around was the Irving Vincent bike. and I think they had some issues as well, finished a little bit further back. But
35 entries in that class down here. Multiple manufacturers from Harley-Davidson, Ducati, Yamaha, Arch, as you mentioned, the Vincent, Triumph, KTM. What a fantastic class Roland Sands has built there for that Super Hooligans. And they keep changing it. They keep, modifying it to make sure that more bikes can get in there. He talked about the parity of it, so they try to even them out a little bit. And, this is one of the most competitive places on earth, and it showed. There was, 10, 12 bikes in the draft?
Usually 10, 12 in both of our races over the last couple of days. So I think that's becoming one of the real great classes within MotoAmerica. Of course, the Superbikes get to debut at Road Atlanta, and that's going to be, I think, as close a battle in any of our classes going into this 2026 campaign. And and we've talked about it, Kenny, one of the other great things I think that's happened over the last couple of days was BMW marking the milestone of the very first Superbike race here at Daytona in 1976, won by Steve McLaughlin. It was great to see Steve out there taking a lap of honor, if you will. We're going to be attending the big dinner. They have over 300 people just below us in the Daytona 500 Club. And boy, it has been super busy over there in the fan zone with all three of those bikes on display.
Everybody wants pictures. Nobody believes that those are the original motorcycles. They're so clean. They're so beautiful. Nobody believes that they're the original motorcycles from 1976.
And they're going to wheel them into the Daytona 500 Club from what we understand. So people can check those out, and I'm sure there'll be some very interesting conversations and walk down memory lane for Reg Pridmore and Steve McLaughlin.
What do you think of the youngsters in the Twins Cup this weekend?
Unbelievable. That Twins Cup class, that is a critical step on the ladder for these young talented riders.
It's almost like Junior Cup, isn't it? Almost it feels like half the field is 16 years old.
Yeah, and there's a nice mix of motorcycles in there. Aprilia has been strong since the inception of the series. Yamaha, of course, with their R7, and Suzuki really making some inroads into the championship. Matthew Chapin with a great ride today after I think he was out of the top 5 and about 8th yesterday. But again, we've got those multi-rider battles going on, 8, 10 riders. And depending on what happens on that last lap, where are you positioned? And
they're bouncing off the walls.
Yeah, and literally. We saw riders come from 5th, 6th back, picking up a double and triple draft and being able to go from 5th or 6th on that last lap right into the lead and take the win.
I was talking to a couple of the more veteran riders, Hawk Mazzata, one of them, and he says, one of the things that caught him out yesterday was that, and he knows better, is here at Daytona, sometimes it's hard for us to let off the throttle and just stay in the draft to push and to keep that momentum. And he says, I forgot, and just like with NASCAR here, he tried to stay in the gas and went high, got left out, and the train went right by him of all those 16-year-olds. And the same thing's kind of happening here with a lot of those kids. You got to make sure you're staying in the gas and rolling off and not necessarily leapfrogging one another and to break away. But again, 6, 8, 10 bikes all in the draft right there to the end. And the M4 X-Star Suzuki team, they released they did a press release. They had 5 new riders join the team this year, and then they added Sonia Lloyd. Sonia Lloyd had a good finish here today. They got a couple of good people here in Twins Cup that I think are going to run them and compete for the championship. The Suzukis, the Yamahas, there's a KTM. There's so many bikes in that class too that are so competitive. It's just MotoAmerica's really put together a fantastic rule package for each of these classes to provide fantastic entertainment. We remind everybody again, you're most likely watching on MotoAmerica Live Plus, but if people want to see what motorcycle racing is all about, encourage your friends to to take on that subscription and watch the motorcycle racing, and make sure you come back and check out all the great storylines and the extra footage that they put in the packages. As you know, this is gonna get really exciting. They always have these extra packages where they follow some of the riders through the season and follow their progression with the team and sponsors and everything else. And I think that this batch of Twins Cup riders coming through, when these youngsters graduate to a 600 Super Sport ride, this is going to be an incredible class that's already has so much action in the Super Sport field.
Yeah, right at the end of that race, I was quite impressed with the MP13 MV Agustas of Ella and Avery Dreyer. They were running up inside of the top 20 for much of that race, and they'll come out of this weekend with some pretty good points, and I think both of those riders should improve their performance as we go through the 2026 season. Yep. And the other rider, I think, his first time at Daytona, won the Suzuki Spec class in Italy last year, Michel Agazzi. And Agazzi had a great ride, and probably...
And it was a gift for him to come here because he won that championship for
exactly.
Suzuki. Yep.
And I'm not sure if he's got plans to do any other rounds in the Twins Cup, but that is a young rider we're going to be hearing a lot more from.
Yep. Well, Pat, it's time to wrap it up from Daytona International Speedway. I'm with Pat Alexander, with Pat Gonzalez. My name's Kenny Abbott. Pat's been the announcer here for a long time. Let's close with a couple words about your broadcast partner, Richard Chambers, who we commemorated here and celebrated this afternoon. If you could give us a few words about Richard Chambers.
Well, I was delighted to present the words, and of course we saw that magnificent painting that artist Lee Bivens put together as we send out appreciation and gratitude for a man who raced in the 210 years in a row, then got into the announcing, and he just absolutely loved doing that commentary, bringing it to the fans here at Daytona, and it was an absolute honor and a privilege to announce with him here at Daytona. And we'll be hearing a lot more. His plaque at the Daytona 200 Monument is going to be going up later on this year once they get the new wall sections all built up. So, well, Kenny, it was time to hand the microphone and pass the torch over to yourself and others, as Richard and I had almost 4 decades here of bringing the race fans, not only Bike Week, but also in the fall when the motorcycles will return here to the World Center of Racing and our fall cycle scene events and the American Superbike Racing Association events.
Absolutely. For all the fans out there, we do have a Fall Cycle Fest. It's in October. You can buy your tickets at DaytonaInternationalSpeedway.com. It's the celebration of amateur riders here in the Race of Champions at Daytona International Speedway, as amateurs from all over not only North America, South America, Europe. We actually see a lot of Daytona 200 riders and teams come down and test that weekend, because they do have a 200-mile race. It's a 2.5-hour endurance race, so there's quite a bit of action there that weekend. But for everybody enjoying the weather down here at Daytona Beach, we could have asked for a better week. We had gorgeous weather all day, every day. I think we all got a nice little suntan being down here. For some of us from the northern territories, it was a nice change. I think it was minus 20 Celsius at least for you when you left, and it was freezing when I left. So we appreciate everybody being here, the MotoAmerica crew and team, the folks at the Daytona International Speedway, Jessica Vallo and Michael Trim and everybody. We just appreciate everybody being here. For all the MotoAmerica fans out there, thanks for making it down here to the Mecca of motorcycle road racing. So we say goodbye until Road Atlanta. Join us next week for another show here with MotoAmerica Live. You got it.